so excited right now because in just a few minutes I'm going to interview Stu McLaren, the go-to expert for all things memberships, co-founder of Wishlist Member, the most popular WordPress membership platform, and owner of Tribe, a community for membership site owners where they learn how to launch or grow their businesses using this model. And it's a very active community where people interact, exchange ideas, share stories and progress together. And in less than 3 hours from now, Stu is hosting a live training workshop where he'll be helping people understand the potential of this business model and how to get started with a membership site. So in just a few minutes, I'm going live on Zoom with Stu. Let's see what happens. Hello there, Stu.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining me for today's interview. I know your time is so precious, and I really hope...
It's just today's back to back to back, so I'm going as quick as I can.
And I hope that you understand my Greek-English accent. I know it's awful.
Dude, your Greek English is far better than my English Greek.
Yes. I've already introduced you to my audience, Stu, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, well, thank you for this. Basically what I do is I help entrepreneurs, business owners, add recurring revenue into their business. A lot like, Amazon with Amazon Prime, a lot like Netflix with their recurring subscription, a lot like Disney Plus with their recurring subscription. Big companies are all moving to a subscription model. And what I do is I help all kinds of different businesses in all kinds of different markets, from photography and calligraphy to fitness and finance and music and art and health and dog training and you name it. We have been working with them, and this is what I've been doing for the last 12 plus years, is literally working with tens of thousands of entrepreneurs in all kinds of markets, add recurring revenue. No matter if it's a product-based business, service-based business, knowledge-based business, or community-based business, you can 100% do this, and that's what I've been helping people do.
Oh, that's great, Stu. So can you tell us why people fail with this kind of business model, and what are their struggles and the obstacles they face? Are there common characteristics?
Yeah, well, so the number one failure in my mind is never launching. So often people overthink and overanalyze all the things that they think are necessary to create a successful membership. But the reality of it is that so often very little of those really matter. What matters is that we get really dialed into our market and what are they trying to accomplish. Whether they are looking to learn a new skill, like they don't know how to paint and they want to learn how to paint beautiful pictures, or they don't know how to play the guitar and they want to be able to play their favorite songs. Or perhaps they have an ongoing problem, like they are, overweight and they want to get to their perfect weight, or they have a dog or a puppy that's wildly out of control and they want a perfectly behaved puppy. Like, what is the problem that they're looking to solve, and or what is the skill they're looking to acquire? So these are examples, right? And so this is basically the first mistake is one, overcomplicating it. Second is not understanding their market. And then third, when they do launch, is that they are providing too much content. They're overwhelming their people. And the reality of it is that less is actually best when it comes to a membership, because it's not just about loading people up with a whole bunch of content. It is about helping them make progress in some area of their life. So you got to create space for not only teaching, but also space in supporting people in the doing or the implementation.
So they can absorb the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have time to implement what they are learning, because when you throw them too much content, it confuses them.
It confuses them, it overwhelms them, and overwhelm is the number one reason that people cancel from a membership. So we don't want to just load people up with a whole bunch of stuff. We want to make sure that whatever we're providing, people are using and consuming so that they're getting value from it and they're making progress in some area of their life that we're helping them with.
Exactly. This is a very actionable advice, Stu. Thanks.
Yeah.
And what, on the other hand, what are the common traits of successful membership site owners? What do they do differently?
Well, it's kind of like the inverse of that. They get going, and even if they don't have an audience of tens of thousands or thousands, like you only need an audience of just a couple hundred people to be able to get going. And so they launch, and they don't launch before, they launch before they've got all the things figured out and everything. Because the reality of it is that in my years of helping tens of thousands of entrepreneurs do this, I have never, ever, ever seen a membership site that has launched that is the same the day it launched, 3 months later, 6 months later, 12 months later. Like a membership is always changing and evolving because we're learning about how to best help our members. And we can take the best guesses of where they're going to get stuck and all that kind of stuff, but you never really truly know it until you're actually working with people. So the sooner you can get started, the better. So the best sites are the ones that get started. And I think of somebody like Jennifer Chamberlain as an example. She teaches women art, and specifically, to how to use art as to help heal, and to as almost like a therapy. Oh. And so she launched with just 17 founding members, 17. Now, fast forward 3 years, and she just gave an update in our community. She has now welcomed more than 2,100 monthly paying members into her membership. So she didn't wait to get it perfect. She didn't wait till she had a huge audience or anything like that. No. She just got going. That's the most important bit, is just get going. That's number one. Number two is that in knowing your audience, it's also very important to get clear on the path that you're helping them, travel down, so to speak, and the journey of that. Because why people are signing up is they're looking for clarity. They want to go from where they are to where they want to be. So they're looking for that clarity. And so what we've got to do, our job, is to help them understand what matters where they are right now and what doesn't matter where they are right now. And so that's a huge role that we play. That's something that we call the success path that we look to create to help give people that clarity. And then the third thing is to understand with a membership, the key to it growing long-term is that, yes, we want to welcome new members, but we want to keep the members that we have. And that's really a focus on retention. So many times the sites that, kind of fall off are sites that just focus on getting new members. And those members come in, and then, if it's not an experience that's helping people make progress, they're going to leave after a month, 2 months, 3 months. But the way in which we teach people is that when you focus on retention, members won't stay for months, they'll stay for years. And that's a totally different profit margin and experience with a membership when your members are staying for a long period of time.
And I believe this is true for any kind of business. Retaining customers is extremely important. Mm-hmm. Of course, you have to search for new customers all the time, but you should retain those that you already got because you made so much effort.
100%. That's exactly it. And it, there's a ton of value in taking care of those who have already, taken you up and that you're doing business with, for sure.
So let's discuss some other thing. Why did you abandon Wishlist? It was quite a successful business, right?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily abandon it. I sold my shares in it. And a big reason was that I had this feeling that there was something that for me was going to be an opportunity to serve a lot more people. And ultimately, like what was happening was that so much of my time was invested in growing Wishlist, which I'm grateful for that experience. My goodness, it was the thing that introduced me to, and led me to where we are today. But it took a lot of time, and I knew I needed space to be able to think through that next chapter of my career. And that's what it created. And when I sold my shares to my business partner, Tracy, who's continued to run with the baton and continue to grow the company, it created the space to enable me to step into what we do now, which is, again, we're serving tens of thousands of entrepreneurs. And in my opinion, it's been just an absolute joy to be able to take what I've learned through those years of Wishlist and those best practices of seeing how certain sites were growing year over year over year, and they were doing something completely different than everybody else. And so I was like, well, what are they doing? What is it? And so I studied them and analyzed them and realized that there were a bunch of best practices that they were doing and implementing as it related to marketing, as it related to retention, as it related to the way they structured their content, that was enabling them to grow year over year. And so I took that and I applied it to my own memberships and growing 6- and 7-figure memberships. And that's when people are like, well, how are you doing this? And that's when I realized, like, oh my gosh, here's the next thing, is me sharing these best practices. And now it's been absolutely incredible. And I think of the ripple effect of, helping so many people in so many different markets launch their memberships and what that has done for them and their lives and so forth. And that's the thing that's been truly meaningful to me in this chapter of my career.
Very, very interesting, Stu. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people just starting out a business in general, not just for membership sites?
Well, I think in business in general, first and foremost, it depends on where you are in your journey. If you're just in the beginning stages of your journey, I just would encourage people to release yourself of the pressure that you have to get it all right. I heard a quote back in 2004 from Mike Littman, and he said, you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. And I just love that quote because, it's so true in business, especially in the beginning days. We get so tripped up thinking that we have to have everything perfect and all the stars need to align before we take the next. No, they don't. You think of it as an experiment. You're just trying a bunch of stuff. And in that, when you're trying a bunch of stuff, I just want you to be observant, like what's working and what's not. And simple Stu rule 101 is do more of what works, less of what doesn't. Inevitably, it's going to help guide you to, getting more and more and more clear and more effective in what you do. And that's what creates momentum. Now, as time goes on, one of the challenges is that as you experience more success, more opportunity will come your way. And that can be both a blessing and a curse, because more opportunity can also mean more distraction. So as you experience more success, my advice is to double down on the few things that really matter. Forget all the other things. Do a few things at a world-class level, and that's how you'll get to the next level, to the next level after that. So in the beginning, just get going, just experiment, just try. And in that, you will gain the clarity and the momentum that will lead you to success. And when you experience success, realize this is when you need to become more disciplined in focusing on the few things that really matter. And that's what will get you to the next level.
So what do you think if people start to get going and practicing and experimenting, and if they don't get the results they want, should they abandon their journey? Should they quit? What happens?
No, we don't quit. Listen, when it's an experiment, we just found something that didn't work. So you got to analyze and figure out like what didn't work. Was it that we didn't have, was it that not enough people saw the offer? Okay, if that's the case, then we need to figure out how to generate more traffic. Okay, what if we got enough people seeing the offer, but not enough people bought? Okay, well, then we got to focus on, conversion elements, and maybe the messaging is off or the offer is off. Or if we got enough people that saw the offer and enough people bought, but not enough people, stayed part of the membership, why? What's the disconnect there? So it's all about just analyzing what's happened, and don't take it personally. Again, It's an experiment. Like none of us are going to get the experiment right the first time out of the gate, but it's about, being patient and staying with it and just asking the questions like what worked, what didn't work. And if things didn't work, like where in that process did it break down? And I'll give you an example. So Lisa, in our community, she came to me and she's like, I'm really bad at selling. Like, I just can't sell like that's. And so I said, okay. So we looked at her numbers and actually it was the complete opposite. She was phenomenal at selling. What she didn't have though, was she just didn't have enough people seeing and hearing the offer. And so when we looked at it and broke it down, conversion wasn't the problem. That was actually a strength. What the problem was traffic. If she just got more people in and she maintained the same conversions, she'd have an exponential result. And so this is what I'm talking about is when things don't work, don't beat yourself up and throw in the towel like you're going to give up. No. It's just about identifying like what part of the process didn't work. Because many times it's not the whole thing didn't work. It's just a singular part that impacted everything else. And so that's what we want to identify. And once we identify it, then we can get creative and we can go to work in fixing it.
Thank you so much, Stu. I know the time has passed. I want to thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. And thanks so much for.
I can't wait to attend your workshop. It's just in less than 3 hours from now, right?
I know. Yeah, I really encourage everybody to come and join us. We host this workshop one time a year. This is it. And if you have a seed of an idea of a membership, or you're thinking, I don't know how this might work for my market, for my interest, or for my business, come and join us for the free workshop because we're going to help you get clear about that. And not only that, but we'll talk about like, what do you provide in a membership? How do you attract members? And so much more. And listen, you'll be inspired because there are literally hundreds and hundreds of stories that we'll share of people in all kinds of different markets and that will help inspire you. And most importantly, get the creative juices flowing for how you can add recurring revenue into your business. And so this is what I'm passionate about because in the last year has taught us anything. It's that we never know what's going to happen. But what I do know is that those business owners who had recurring revenue in their business, they didn't experience anywhere near the stress as those who did not. And so not only has this been a year for memberships to survive the year, but they have been thriving this year. And this is what I'm passionate about because as entrepreneurs, we deal with so much as it is. And what I want more entrepreneurs being able to have more profitability, more stability, more predictability in their business, which reduces stress. And it gives us the ability to have more impact in a far more leveraged way. So I encourage everybody watching, listening, come join the workshop.
Thank you, Stu, so much for your time. Good luck with your workshop. Take care.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.